it's time to go over some of the finer details.
The Rock was released on June 7th, 1996. Had a budget of $75 million and made $335.1 million. Definitely a hit. Yep. This was, as we previously mentioned in our Con Air and Face Off episodes, this was the first of the Holy Trinity of Nick Cage action movies. He did all three of those movies right in a row. So The Rock, then Face Off, then Con Air. Pretty much filmed Con Air and Face Off at the same time. No, it was the other way around. So Con Air came out first, then Face Off. Which I don't know if we talked about it, but Don Simpson, who died shortly after The Rock was finished, I don't think he made it to The Rock actually premiering, but he was very against Con Air. He hated the idea, didn't want anything to do with it, and it was actually causing a lot of tension between him and Bruckheimer, and they were about to go their separate ways anyway, and then Don Simpson had a massive heart attack, and that was the end of that.
Wow.
But Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer started this relationship way back. I think Lethal Weapon was like when they first started, and
yeah,
Bruckheimer's still going to this day.
Well, that makes me a Don Simpson fan because I think he was making the right call there. Con Air is the worst of these three.
This was directed by the one and only, my least favorite director, and if I had an arch nemesis in this world, I would say that's the man, Michael Bay.
Even more so than Paul Schrader.
Oh, I would.
In a world where Harvey Weinstein exists, and
he was a producer.
Yeah, they're all terrible.
All right. No, I just, I guess that's a bit extreme.
You're
to
saying
say
Michael
about
Bay's
Michael
worse
Bay.
than Brett Ratner?
I just don't like him from a filmmaking standpoint. Not as a person, though he doesn't seem like the greatest person in the world. But anyways. So 6-time Golden Raspberry nominee Michael Bay directed this film. We'll just quickly go through his laundry list of wonderful movies here. Bad Boys 1, which was actually good. I would feel like Bad Boys and The Rock were the first two movies that he did, and those were Bruckheimer productions. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they had some sort of falling out after Armageddon, and he never worked with Bruckheimer again. And there is a considerable quality drop after that. So if you watch Bad Boys 2, Transformers movies.
Hey. Bad Boys 2 was a good film. Not every movie throws dead bodies out of a moving vehicle.
Every Michael Bay movie does. He did The Island, which is actually one of his better movies. I feel like we've talked about that on this show at some point. Of course, Transformers 1 through 15, and other awful movies such as Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was also a Bruckheimer production, so maybe that was the last one. So yeah, I don't know. How do you make it through doing Pearl Harbor and not want to break off any relationship with Michael Bay forever?
How do you turn such an interesting story in American history into one of the worst movies ever?
That movie's so terrible. I'm so glad Nick Cage is not in that movie.
I'm not. I wish he was. That would have been awesome.
No, we get Wind Talkers instead.
Yeah. That was actually a decent movie.
Pain and Gain. And most recently, Ambulance, which is Bringing Out the Dead's handicapped cousin. Got his start with music videos, of course, commercials, and softcore porn.
Nice.
Before becoming the poster child for over-the-top, awful blockbuster action movies, which he describes as movies for teenage boys. So anytime he gets criticized, he's like, what do you expect? It's movies for teenage boys. What do you want me to do? Make sure to check out Kerry Kendall's Playboy Centerfold September 1990 video shoot to see his early work. with comically ridiculous camera angles, over-the-top character reveals, and obnoxious yellow and teal color grades.
So he's always had a style.
No, actually, he didn't. It's actually pretty good. It's a well-produced film.
So we should watch it.
Written by writing partners David Weisberg and Douglas Cook, who went on to write such household names as Double Jeopardy with Tommy Lee Jones and Ashley Judd, as well as Criminal with Kevin Costner. You've seen that, right?
Mm-mm.
No, nobody has. And literally nothing else. There's nothing else on their writing credits. Though there's like 100 people who came in and like added little things. Like Tarantino apparently was a script doctor on this film.
On this film?
Yes, on The Rock.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah. I'm wondering because J.J. Abrams was a script doctor who came in on Gone in 60 Seconds. So I wonder if he had been tapped in this at all. But story was by Mark Rosner, who went on to write some stuff I've never heard of, besides a couple episodes of Blue Bloods. So it's kind of weird that it's not like, usually Michael Bay and Bruckheimer especially seem to have these go-to writers, but on this one they kind of grabbed some unknowns and they remained unknown after The Rock. So
Yeah.
kind of weird.
Well, I mean, it was kind of early for at least Michael Bay's career, so I can understand him not really having a catalog of guys to come in. But Bruckheimer, I'm surprised he didn't bring in some more powerful writers.
I mean, I'm surprised that guy who did Con Air and Gone in 60 Seconds didn't have any involvement in this, but maybe Con Air was his first time getting into that camp. Who knows?
Yeah.
This was shot by Talia Shire's stepson / honorary Coppola, John Schwartzman, who is Jason Schwartzman's brother. Or, yeah, I think brother, right? Because John, I think it's James. It's too many J's. The other Schwartzman is his dad, so John would be his brother. Okay, yeah. So Nick Cage's cousins. You get it, right?
Sure.
So Talia Shire remarried. I think it's Jack, actually. Jack Schwartzman, I think is his name. A lot of J's in that family for some reason. He's had a super long, successful career, but a few highlights include Airheads. If you guys remember that movie from the Adam Sandler movie, the early 90s. That was like kind of the beginning of Sandler. Also shot other movies with Michael Bay, including Armageddon, which is just an absolute dumpster fire, in my opinion. I hate that movie so much.
It gave us one of the greatest songs ever, though.
I know a lot of people who really love that movie, and I hate it.
Also, the nostalgia factor, yeah, but
I think so.
Not a
yeah,
good movie. That's it. I mean, if you really, it's not a good movie.
But we're a Deep Impact family.
Yeah, I was actually in the same thing. I was like, I like Deep Impact better than Though if you watch Deep Impact now, it doesn't hold up very well either. No. Also shot Pearl Harbor, Jurassic World 1, and not the second one. I felt like the second one had a lot of promise. It was almost like a horror movie with dinosaurs. But
that's where it lost me.
It was just, oh man, those Jurassic World movies are so bad, especially that third one. Holy
I still haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I don't care to watch the third one.
Literally only watched it to see the OG cast from the original Jurassic Park.
I feel like the first one wasn't that bad, but it wasn't
I liked the first one.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but the second one, it just kind of fell apart at the end there.
Like, if you don't have a story to tell, just don't, okay? First Amazing Spider-Man movie, so that was the
Andrew Garfield
one, which was pretty good.
That's pretty good,
yeah, it was a good one.
Looks good movie. It's good, or good looking film.
Yeah. And in a departure from popcorn films, he also shot Saving Mr. Banks, which I don't think he was Oscar nominated for, but that movie was Oscar nominated, and he actually got a nomination for Seabiscuit. So
oh, cool,
Seabiscuit. Had one other collaboration with Nicolas Cage, which we will be doing this season, National Treasure, Book of Secrets.
Yeah.
So we will be seeing John Schwartzman again. Edited by Richard Francis Bruce, who has been working since 1974 and has been nominated for 3 Oscars for Shawshank Redemption. I mean, you brought the Shawshank Redemption guy in to do The Rock? Why?
Because he's the only one that could save it.
Maybe that's why this movie is actually pretty coherent and good.
Coherent, yeah.
Also edited one of my favorite movies of all time, Seven, and did Air Force One. Also edited the first
some bangers in this lineup.
The first Harry Potter film of the 8, I think. The Green Mile, The Italian Job, and Ghost Rider. So nobody's perfect.
They had him do Green Mile as well as Shawshank.
That's great. Yeah. I forgot he did Ghost Rider. I knew he was involved with Nick somehow, other than
music by Nick Glennie-Smith, and you'll notice it throughout. There's a real Pirates of the Caribbean vibe through this movie. Hans Zimmer also did music for this. We've talked about Hans Zimmer about 20 times already.
Yeah.
Smith is apparently Zimmer's go-to conductor.
Really?
When he's putting music together. So I guess Smith kind of has a conducting career of his own, but as a solo composer, he's only done Home Alone 3, Lion King 2, Highlander Endgame, and his most recognizable movie was We Were Soldiers. So hasn't done a ton on his own as a composer. But as a conductor, he's worked on almost everything Hans Zimmer's ever done. Ratings. It's got a 67%, which is actually pretty decent if you think about these kind of Bruckheimer-esque films. I don't know how many have gotten 60 or above from the critics. The audience always loves these movies.
Yeah.
Critics.
The Pirates got, because I feel like those movies were loved by
probably
critics.
really pretty high, I would imagine.
And they're not that great.
I could not. It was just so much crap going on. I remember I watched the first Pirates in the theater and I was like, I have no idea what is happening in this film. I have no idea what's going on. And it wasn't until the rewatch where I was able to kind of oh, okay. Oh, all right. So that connects to this and that connects to this. And it was just such a convoluted mess. So if the first viewing, I was just like, what in the hell is happening in this movie?
I've seen those movies multiple times and I still have no clue what the plot of them.
Okay. Yeah.
The first one I got down. The other ones I don't.
I couldn't tell you.
First one got an 80 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty high.
They loved those pirates.
Ugh.
Yeah. Audience score of 86. So pretty simpatico.
I don't feel like any of those movies were good.
I think the first one's pretty good. We watched it, rewatched it recently. First one's pretty good.
6.6 out of 10 on 72 reviews for that 67%. Audience, of course, 85%. Almost universally loved. I do, like I've said, I think this is the best of the 3 big Cage action movies that kind of launched his action side of things. Because, you got to think about what Cage was doing prior to this. He was doing, Moonstruck, Raising Arizona, Vampire's Kiss.
Leaving Las Vegas.
Leaving Las Vegas, Wild at Heart, Red Rock West. He had done mostly indie, quirky kind of movies. And then he got tapped after winning that Oscar to be part of a big tentpole summer blockbuster movie. And that launched him into being an action star, which, he really isn't the action star of this movie. Sean Connery is, and Michael Biehn, I guess, for his brief...
For 2 seconds.
brief appearance in the film.
Spoiler alert.
But, him going from being the goofy scientist who's kind of the secondary lead to Con Air after this.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a leap. But, he got shredded for that, so that's he won the hearts of America. Those glistening abs, and then he got Face Off after that, and that cemented him forever. Metacritic score was 58%, so substantially lower.
Jeez.
IMDb 7.4 out of 10. So again, the audience definitely loves this movie. And then the cinema score was an A. So audience definitely responded well to this in the theater.
Makes sense. This is like prime time for these action films too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
America was primed for these just dumb popcorn summer blockbusters.
Yeah. They were everywhere. During that brief period of, I mean, really the 90s in general, just from beginning to end, it was just wall to wall slapstick.
Speed, like Speed and all that shit. Like all those just really cheesy over the top action films.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some gems in there. But then like the early 2000s kind of ruined it by going too far over the top. It's almost like those, when you see like a clip from an India, a movie from India, and you're like, whoa,
like RRR. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's just like over the top.